Buonasera a tutti, benvenuti a una puntata piuttosto particolare e speciale di Liberi Oltre le illusioni. Mi trovo nella regione di Sumy in Ucraina e oggi è l'occasione di parlare con dei giovani attivisti ucraini che sono in questa zona dell'Ucraina insieme a me per un progetto di ricostruzione di un'associazione che si chiama BUR, Buduem Ukrainu Razom. Sorry for the pronunciation, guys, don't laugh. E questa associazione Costruiamo l'Ucraina insieme, che appunto si occupa di progetti di ricostruzione. Nello specifico qui stiamo costruendo ed è un progetto che sarà su diverse settimane, diviso in più campi a cui partecipano vari volontari. Stiamo restaurando e rendendo agibile uno shelter sotto una scuola e questa è stata l'occasione per me di incontrare moltissimi ragazzi ucraini, appunto la maggior parte dei quali vivono in Ucraina. In realtà questo è un progetto dove il grosso dei partecipanti è ucraino, con una manciata 4-5 stranieri e chiaramente è stata ed è stata insomma un'esperienza estremamente interessante e stimolante poter parlare anche con ucraini in Ucraina, quando spesso e volentieri anche noi che siamo più attivi sull'Ucraina tendiamo a incontrare appunto persone che si trovano fuori dal paese e è stato molto stimolante poter parlare con loro. Ci sono state molte chiacchierate, insomma, da cui ho tratto molto e volevo trovare il modo di condividere anche con voi che seguite Liberi Oltre questo un po' di cose che ho capito, un po' di cose che ho imparato e lasciare insomma la voce, cioè lasciare la possibilità appunto a queste persone di parlare anche con il pubblico italiano. Quindi io mi aspetto anche domande da voi. Adesso io sposterò un attimo il computer e renderò appunto visibili i ragazzi che sono con noi, forse se ne aggiungeranno anche altri. Il grosso di questi ragazzi parla inglese, cioè di questi che partecipano parlano inglese. Vediamo se riusciremo a coinvolgere anche alcuni dei ragazzi che magari parlano meno bene inglese o parlano ucraino, perché in realtà anche con loro, rappresentando anche strati geografici e sociali diversi, è molto interessante quello che hanno da dire. Voi potete già iniziare a scrivere le domande, io vi ricordo di mettere like, più tardi metterò anche il link per le donazioni a questa associazione BUR di ricostruzione e saluto Lena Torre. We have a very dear person that follows us on this channel that lives in Kherson. Her name is Lena. Quindi, Privit Lena. And so we are going to start. I'm going to switch to English for the rest of the video, of course, given that the language of this video is going to be English, and then most likely metteremo i sottotitoli in futuro per chi vorrà poi seguire la live in maniera più agevole. So I'm gonna put the computer here. Before presenting, of course, if there is some emergency, I will just close the computer and we'll go away and the streaming will be finished. But apart from that, I'm not gonna say it shouldn't happen, because otherwise it's gonna bring bad luck, but know that it's a particular context. Having said that, I am with these beautiful people and they're gonna introduce themselves, starting from Zlata.
Ok, ciao, mi chiamo Zlata e sono di Kharkiv, vengo di Kharkiv, which is actually on the east of Ukraine. And some interesting fact about me as Ukrainian: I'm a refugee, and I'm a refugee since 2022, and I now live in Lviv, which is on the west, and I used to live in Denmark also as a refugee, and I'm glad to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Zlata. Little feedback, guys, from the chat. Let us know if you hear us loud and clear, especially the people that is more far from the computer. And now let me leave the room to first Solomia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Solomia, and I am from Lviv. It's on the west side of Ukraine. I study right now in Kyiv, and I study political science. And I came here also for the volunteering camp, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm glad that you also are here and listening to us. It means a lot for us. Thank you.
Okay, from our chat, Pietro says Heroyam Slava. And now Ivanka.
Hello, my name is Ivana. I'm from Dnipro and I'm a journalist.
Okay, very short, a journalist, so you summarized everything in a very effective presentation. And then we also have a Georgian guest.
Yes, my name is Irakli, and I'm a political science student at the University of Helsinki. And it's my first time being in Ukraine, and it's my first time volunteering ever.
Okay, thank you, Irakli.
Thank you very much.
So I'm very glad to have these people here. As I was saying, I really had some very enriching conversation with them. And at this point, I would like to start with a not so simple question actually, but a general question. I think you can answer in turn, but then feel free also to enter the conversation when you want. I would like you to tell our public why are you here as Ukrainians, and how do you see your role in the society as young Ukrainians? So, because of course, for foreign public, it's also interesting to see that there are young activists in Ukraine, and why do you do what you do, and also, what's like the question that was asked before in the meeting we had before. Now, what's Ukraine to you, and what does your civic effort mean in the context of what Ukraine means to you? We also have another guest.
Hello, my name is Alexander.
Okay, and so also Alexander will join the conversation. Okay, so probably some more random people might come, but the more the merrier, and that's also Ukraine, and that's the beauty of it. So let's go on. So Rada, you want to start?
Actually, it's a really deep question. Like you ask Sarah, what are we doing here? Personally, everyone asked what is the role of YAS in Ukraine now. So I can start with they are really similar to each other, those questions, because YAS is always somebody who are promoting some changes, promoting something new.
Can you raise your voice a little bit? If you manage.
Okay, I will try to do that.
Okay, now Zlata is angry.
Okay. YAS is actually young people who are the first to promote, to try something new. And, like in Ukraine, we say that all revolution, they are starting from YAS people. And I think that the role of students, especially students that like older than students, but also YAS is
you mean youth? Yeah, young people. Okay.
Youth, maybe it's pronounced like youth, is really big, especially right now when we are having so much differences, so much changes in our society. Personally, I came to this camp to find people who also want to change something, also want to build Ukraine together. Like it's what we are doing here, and the culture of volunteering is also a thing which is really important for me, and I hope that it is important for other Ukrainians who are there, because by volunteering and by sharing our experience within Ukrainians and within people from other countries, we can create a new society, which we need in Ukraine right now. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Zlata. You want to add something, Solomia or Ivana?
Yeah, I can add something. So volunteering has been part of my life since 2021, and recently in February I even founded my own organization. So I feel like volunteering is more than just helping people. It's going somewhere deep, because it's an exchange for me contributing into Ukrainian society and Ukraine in modern state of war, but also it's me receiving something, receiving the sense of stability, the sense of becoming a part of a sense of belonging, and sense becoming part of the society. So I truly believe that volunteering is you give, you get, and youth especially participates in it a lot, and young people are the one who understands the price and what they get from volunteering, because it's not only just getting a new experience or here getting a building experience, because what we do is rebuild the shelter in a kindergarten. So it's more about finding ourselves, contributing and getting a giving and getting a part of Ukraine. So Yeah, I believe that volunteering is can be part of lifestyle and something that unites completely different people.
Okay, thank you. Irakli, at this point, if Ivana doesn't want to add anything specific to this,
No.
I'd like to ask you, why are you here in Ukraine, given that you're Georgian? What's your connection to Ukraine?
Well, as a Georgian, I have.
But you have to raise your voice.
Of course, I will try my best.
Okay.
As a Georgian, I have really quite strong connection to Ukraine due to the fact that Ukraine and Georgia share almost the same history regarding the Russian occupation, Russian imperialism, Russification, and we also had a war with Russia in 2008. Russia has occupied 20% of Georgia, so we Georgians know what the Ukrainians are going through right now, and we are supporting the Ukrainians as much as we can, because we know that if Ukraine loses, next will be Georgia, the Baltics, Poland, and etc. For me, it means a lot to be in Ukraine right now because I always wanted to come here, and especially now when it's a war, I think I made a good choice to come to Ukraine and volunteer just in Ukraine, because I feel like Ukraine needs me the most, and I think Ukraine needs the volunteers the most now from Europe, and I would be really happy if young Europeans would also come here volunteering in safe regions. Because Ukraine needs you, Ukraine needs young people now, and as I would be, and all of my colleagues, or how to say, my friends would be really happy to see more people coming from different countries here. And I'm really happy also that there are not only Ukrainians volunteering here, there are people from Italy, Mexico, Canada, Georgia, and yeah, it was not what I expected, to be honest. I thought it would be more Ukrainians mostly here. And I'm really happy.
Not like it's not like we are many foreigners, like there are 5 of us.
No, yeah, but it's quite a few, yeah.
Quite a few. So just a second, there is a car passing because we are in the open countryside in this moment. And okay, thank you all for these warm-up answers. And at this point, I will start now. Of course, guys, you can from the public. First of all, when you see that the audio is not enough, please tell us, because really here I have no feedback to check the audio level. So just write audio if you see that. Italians say audio if you see that, which is actually Latin, by the way, so it's audio for real. But quindi scrivete audio se non si sente. And so let's go forward. Since Irakli introduced the team of foreigner volunteers, what do you think about foreign? Not us, because we are wonderful, of course, but foreign volunteers in general. And serious question: what does it mean to you that there are people willing to come to volunteer? Because the point is, many people could say, okay, but why don't you just employ your time to earn money and donate to Ukraine, which is, by the way, one of the fundamental things. Especially governments should keep donating and sending weapons to Ukraine. But what is the added value of having foreigners on your soil for this kind of activities?
Can I start?
You can also say there is no. You can answer sincerely.
Actually, I want to say that it's really precious, and I can't describe how it is, because I didn't have like expectations that I will come here and I will see such motivated foreigners, because me personally, I used to think that we are not as remembered and as precious to Europeans, and seeing that we are heard, and actually you understand a lot of aspects of Ukrainian society, and you support our opinion, not some pro-Russian opinion, which can be popular in Europe. And it's like, I feel like we are not so different in this war, and you can help us, and there is some hope, and there is more hope that I used to think before I came here. So it's really precious that you are there. And maybe somebody wants to add something about maybe other volunteers which are not in that camp, but volunteers average European.
Yeah, I would also like to add, it's not only important for us just to know that like we're not forgotten, but also it's important for spreading information and to talking about Ukraine. it's one thing when you watch something on TV or read news, but completely the other thing when somebody tells you how they have been to Ukraine or they have a friend in Ukraine. When somebody or you have a personal relation with something that is told in news, it's a completely different experience, and it always helps you to understand more and helps other people to understand. Whenever there is a close Ukrainian friend for somebody, for a foreigner, they have this one step of close connection and understanding and caring about what is happening in Ukraine. That's why being here is a step, and it has much more effect than we can even think of.
Okay, thank you, Solomia. Ivana or Irakli, if you want to add something to this.
It's mostly a question to Ukrainians. I'm really interested in what my fellow volunteers would say about this, about foreigners here volunteering. So I would let my
Okay. Then before Ivana answers, I tell you there is a question from the public, but I will make it after Ivana's comments. I say hello to everyone. Ciao Stefano. And Giuseppe says, good evening to everyone. My wife is from Sumy.
Oh.
Okay.
It's nice.
Yes.
So now, there are also various Ukrainians, also some Ukrainians for Ukraine that who speak Italian follow our channel, and we're very proud of this. So, okay, lots of people are saying Slava Ucraini.
Heroям
Slava. So this had to be said. Okay. Okay, there are already a couple questions, but go on, Ivan, and then we will go to the questions.
I was in a same
Holos?
program.
Holos?
I was in the same program 1 year ago, and there were foreigners there, but there were like a little bit of them, like 3 or 2. I don't really remember. But now I'm here and I see how this number is double up, and I'm really appreciate all that they are doing, and I'm happy to see that Ukrainian starts to be more popular, and foreigners want to come here to help us, and that we are developing this part of our volunteering life, that we are communicate more with our friends from outside the country. And it's really helpful for our community and our society, and it needs to be done. And I'm really want to say thank you for everything that you do, and that you are here.
Thank you, Ivana. We can go to questions, but some comments. But
let me say something. I will also.
Oh yeah, go on.
As a foreigner, I expected this to be only volunteering, just working physically and reconstructing the kindergarten shelter that we're doing right now. However, it's not the only thing we're doing. I have always been interested in the Ukrainian culture, and this volunteering has helped me to understand and get to know the Ukrainian culture even more, to get to know the Ukrainian and to hear their perspective about this war, what they have been through. And it's such a great opportunity, and I'm really, really happy to be here.
Okay, thank you very much, Irakli. That's also actually a topic of which, if you are comfortable with me, might talk about. But let's start with questions. First of all, I will read some comments because they're sending a lot of supportive comments. Erika Colombo says, "You are always in our thoughts." Okay, Massimo says, "Hello from I cannot read. Okay, from how do you say Wrocław? Wrocław. Okay, my Polish is horrible. And his wife is from Kremenchuk, so Slav Ucraini also him. So there's not only Italians from Italy, but it's kind of a let's say multicolor public. And the first question, this is interesting. Okay, there are 3 questions. I will go with I will tell all the three questions, and then you decide in which order or on which one to jump in. Eugenio Manca says, how is your day organized? So it's a question about the project we are currently involved in. Gordon Freeman, this is a nickname, I guess. I didn't think English was so widespread in Ukraine. Or am I wrong? And I think this is an interesting topic. In general, the language topic is something we could talk about. And Marco says, how can we help you? And also this we talk. General question, yeah. But the short question she just said in Ukrainian, so weapons. But let's go to the first question. So how is our day organized? What we do?
One person can describe this.
Yeah, I mean, we have a schedule.
Ukrainians like, at least these Ukrainians like schedules very much.
Yeah, we like.
They are in love with their schedule.
Yeah, we like to do everything on time. Not like you.
They don't always manage with the plan.
Okay, we have a tight schedule. We woke up early, like 7 a.m. and after this we have some warm up to like.
Let me jump in on this if I can, because I want to let's say now point the attention of our public, that is mostly Italians, even if many of them live abroad. On this, there is this aspect of collective activity that is really kind of far from our sensitivity, where basically everything through the day happens together. So the tight schedule that I'm often mocking actually serves a function. And also I would like to answer the question in the context of what this razom or razom.
Okay, it's both ways.
It's both. Okay, so okay. So this razom thing of not only building together but being together, doing things together. Because as Ivanka will explain, there is not only the work part, but there is a huge team building and cultural part that I don't want to say it's as important as the work part, because that's the core and why we're here. But it's a very, very crucial part of the whole project.
Actually, they equal.
Yes.
Because many of us are not really familiar with Sumy region. Mostly you guys from other countries.
Mostly you.
Yeah. I mean, we really do everything together. Like we even sleep in one room all together.
It's a big room. It's
Sì, non è un monolocale, ragazzi.
Beds, but we all sleep in one place, and we work together like a team. We eat together like a family, and when we are resting and have a cultural program, we have a team building experience, play games, talking a lot. Like this table, I have seen so much talking, I can't even describe. We trying to learn new things together. We go on some events, watch films, speak with locals, and of course we have some fireplace and music. It's not like we all the time working in the dust and breaking our backs, but it's a big part of our job. We work and we educate.
Okay. See, in some way, like, one expectation that a foreigner might have is like, Ukraine is a nation that is fighting, so every moment must be fighting, must be dramatic, struggling through the mud, etc. But actually, I think one of the most beautiful thing, I mean, I already knew Ukrainian from outside, but seeing it here and experiences throughout the whole day for almost a week, I have to say that it's difficult to explain, but this this will to live and to laugh and to love and to share For example, one thing that I would like to point out that I think I found I really think it's a good sign and it's beautiful is that there is this interesting apparent contrast, no? When you go to Ukraine, but in general, all the even Ukrainian activists, now of course they look very nationalist. Actually, even foreign activists that do activism for Ukraine, they use Ukrainian flags, Ukrainian trizub. So there is a lot of attention on the motherland, the nation, etc.
Patriotic.
And when you go around, you see a lot of flags, and so you say, "Oh, very nationalistic country." And usually, nationalistic, especially in Western Europe, tends to be a right-wing concept. And so it's attached to a lot of other. And a set of ideas that are not particularly towards inclusion and often not even towards democracy. And what I observe, and especially with you, the Ukrainian youth, is this this way by which you can actually put together very strong patriotic drive and at the same time a democratic set of ideas that involve also inclusivity, diversity. So you have like nation, defense of the nation, a rhetoric, a just rhetoric, of course, on the heroes that defend Ukraine, and at the same time, all the contemporary concepts that also are used in the West. So it's not like Ukraine is going backwards towards a 19th century or 20th century nationalism, but are actually basically building a new form of patriotism that includes all the developments of the 21st century. Go on if you want to.
I think you described it really well, because Ukrainians, it's not a monolithic nation. Actually, we have a lot of national ethnic groups. I think we have Hebrews, we have Polish people, we have Hungarian, we have Tatar, Krymski Tatar, yes. Tatar, and we even have Russians. And we live in one country with Russian speaking, with Ukrainian speaking. People. We live in one country with Catholic, with Greek Catholic, with Orthodox people, and we live somehow, and we are not fighting with each other. So, like our nationalistic ideas, as like Westerns love to say, they are not about don't liking other cultures. It's about being like more about, please speak Ukrainian. It's not like you must speak Ukrainian. It's like, please speak Ukrainian. It's like about having honor to our culture and to our traditions, and we don't like pretend to ruin other people's beliefs or something like that.
Yeah.
It's what I'm thinking about Ukrainian nationalism. And actually, Slava Ukraini, it is a phrase which Stepan Bandera told, and he is the head of Ukrainian nationalism. So, and everybody is now saying it, and it's about our strength and about our patriotic character, not about something bad for other cultures.
And it's changed now. I could define the modern Ukrainian nationalism, the one that is most common, because there's a lot of branches of nationalism, as even liberal nationalism, because people are open to ideas and open, as Zlata already said, to ethnicities and to their rights. When we become independent, we were what in Ukrainian constitution it was written that everybody who lives on the territory of Ukraine is Ukrainian, not thinking of which their ethnicity. We had different forms of nationalism, like what was Bandera, and it was essential for that time. We had different forms of nationalism before, but now it's about having our own country, having our own nation, with respect, with Euro integration included, which is the most really supported by most of the population of Ukraine, which about having the tolerance to new ethnicities, that they like minorities. There is even a law about protection of minorities' rights, which is accepted in Ukraine. So all our history led us to our own moment now. So yeah.
If I may, I would like to sum up.
Yes, but with the high and mighty voice.
Yes, of course. High and mighty. We here are trying to build communities that see and hear each other and appreciate everything that we do and do it together and separately, but for a greater and bigger cause.
Okay, thank you, Anna. I will add something in Italian because it's actually a technical comment. We want to recommend a video about Ukrainian nationalism that we made on our chat. So, per quelli che ascoltano poi in podcast e non possono leggere i commenti, c'è un video del professore Attilio Bellezza che appunto parla del nazionalismo ucraino, che insomma nel contesto di un suo testo molto recente e molto importante, che è stato appunto commentato dallo stesso professore, che appunto è stato intervistato sul canale Liberi Oltre Agora. So at this point, given that this question has to do with the defense of a nation and with independence, and we have a Georgian guest, I would like you also to jump into this question because I think it's relevant also to your country and to your generation, namely.
Yeah, because we're just like trying to protect our identities from Russian Federation, because they were always been trying to make us speak Russian and eliminate our languages, Ukrainian and Georgia. But our nationalism doesn't mean that we are not open to other cultures, other countries. We just want to protect our countries and just protect our identities, as I mentioned before.
Can I jump in?
The whole point of this is you jumping in.
Okay, so like
Be
the
my
organization of this camp and NGO Building Ukraine Together has its own values, and the first one is equality and diversity, which I think describes really well what Ukrainians want now. We are different. We have different background, different cultural background even, but we are equal in our rights, in our opinions, and we respect each other. And that is like the first value in our organization, which is active youth who organize in this camp.
Okay. There was also another question. Actually, there was more than Rumak, which is a very dear friend of mine, makes a very philosophical question. Let's see if we manage to answer to this. It seems when you were talking about, I think, about the, this collective organization, no? It seems similar to certain libertarian models of community. Are there ideological/philosophical bases by which you have been inspired? And I think that maybe it will be, since we're not speaking with the organizers of the camp, but with volunteers within the context of the camp, but I think it might be interesting if you'd like to delve more into the idea of collectivity and society that you have, because one thing that I've noticed is that, at the beginning, as a foreigner now, and this is something that it's kind of a built-in habit, whenever you go in a different country and you see something that you apparently don't understand, or it's a bit farther from your normal habit, you assume, okay, this country is like that, there must be something in the culture that is like that. But then, talking with some of you, it seemed to me that it was something that was also not only just, applying some underlying culture like Slavic or Ukrainian or ex-Soviet, but also a reaction to a society that was very divided before the war and still keeps being divided. So probably you were telling me about this. So if you want to talk a bit about this, I think it can be very interesting. How you see the community today.
Okay. Our society is a little bit was a little bit divided and still has some problems with this. Like you may know that sometimes Ukrainian people try to divide Ukraine on west and east sides. That is why in this program, this organization, we are trying to combine people from every part of Ukraine, like Central, East, West, who speaks in Ukrainian, like literature Ukrainian, who speaks like Surjik, who speaks a little bit Russian.
Just a bit of context. Surjik is basically the mix of Ukrainian and Russian.
Yeah. Who have some special needs, or who have some special, like, I don't know, beliefs, who have any certain way of living, vegetarian, everybody. We try to make this place a place where you can be safe to be yourself and be together as one, and still be a person with a own personality and character.
Okay. Someone wants to jump in on this?
I can also and like relating also to the question, if talking about forming a community, there's sometimes no like ideology underneath it. You know, people sometimes think like, oh, you guys do a lot of like collectively. It says if it means like, is it communism? You know, because you have like some things in common. There's sometimes no ideology underneath it. It's more about not political views of every person. It's about common goal and just unity. People tend to stick together whenever stick together in generally, but whenever something bad happens, especially because it makes them feel stronger, because while talking through and just knowing that they're not alone, it makes them stronger. So while being here and sharing like some moments together, working together, it makes it not on like inspired on any form of communities. It just makes it easier to go through, to volunteer. It's much easier to like build something if there's 30 of you other than 3. And the same with having meals together, having networking, having the ability to speak to people from different regions and different countries. So yeah, that's how it works.
Actually, I also thought about Maidan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Voice?
I also thought about Maidan, and talking about reaction, Maidan was the moment when Ukrainians put up together and started to somehow organize. Self-organized.
That was Ukrainian English.
Started to self-organize really, really well, and that was the time when Ukrainians stood together on the Maidan in winter, in camps, and this was a collective activity. And actually now we are living in the wartime, and we are always under stress. Under stress. And that also can be some kind of reaction that we have so much collective activities, because we understand that if we won't have so much groups, so much like social connections between each other, we just won't survive.
Thank you very much. That's super interesting. And there are also a couple of interesting comments here.
Can we quickly answer on the question about English language in Ukraine?
Yeah, of course.
It's important to people to know that here in Ukraine we have phones. I'm sorry, but sometimes people ask if we have a phone, and you need to understand.
You mean phones? You meant like phones?
Like phones.
Like phones. Okay, like mobile phones. Okay. They all have. I'm here. You can. If you want, you can show them. So
yeah.
They even have iPhones, unfortunately.
And on phone we have Duolingo, but if we say seriously, most of Ukrainian youth are speak English pretty well, because we have like English classes in school, like since 2000s. We have English in schools everywhere, and most of us are trying to learn English besides school, We have a lot of like private schools of English, a lot of speaking clubs, and generally a lot of books about English, and we can buy books in English in fiction. So it's not like English for Ukrainians are not like something out of range, we English is spread out through Europe, like in every country, like in Georgia, like in Italy.
Yeah, in Italy, don't think that it's so widespread as you might think. Because I consider also this, just to give you in this case, not the public, but also to you some context. Italy, like France, is not a country where English is so widespread. There are a variety of reasons for this. So, for example, with respect to countries like Lithuania or I think even Georgia, the rates of I don't have the data literally right here, but I mean, it's spoken, of course, part of the youth, especially some socio-demographic segments speak it, but it's not as widespread as it should be. And so the expectation might be, okay, Ukraine, far country in the east with a lot of problems, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, if in Italy it's not so widespread, imagine, in Ukraine. And so I think that so thank you for the clarification, because I think it's very important. I would like to jump in with a question on this. For example, what I observed, what could be, but you will tell me on this, some socio-demographic divide, for example, in the fact that the guys that we call the meisters, most of them struggle with English or do not speak English at all. Of course, now we are speaking with English-speaking people. There are also among the volunteers some people that speak either slightly less English or that almost don't speak English. And so, of course, there are also differences in this. Anyway, I observe that some of the people that don't speak English are older, a bit older than you. So you are all very young, so 20, 21, etc., etc. So 18, like in the case of Zlata. So do you think that there is like a divide between like you as 20-year-old people and 30-year-old people, or like, by social class, I assume there is also. What's your experience also in your wider community in your city with respect to English? And then we will also go on the language topic and speaking about Ukrainian if you want, but let's first stay on this English topic if you want.
Yeah. Okay. So I can say that for people who live in the cities like Dnipro, Kiev, Lviv, etc., those cities that have a lot of cities in it, it's more likely that most of the youth will know English. It's more likely that even like people like 21, 25 plus will know English. But if the young people were born and raised in more like more closed societies like villages, it were more difficult for them to study. Now we have more abilities.
Experience,
abilities,
more
abilities, even in even in most like far regions, because Ukraine don't stand on one place. We develop every year, and now our children learn English practically everywhere.
Okay.
Not mine.
Yes,
I wanted to add that actually adults really know English usually worse, but at the same time adults are ones who taught us English. So there are adults who know English well, like teachers, professors, and so on. But it was not as common and as useful before. But now, actually, in Ukraine, we have national tests. and English is obligatory there. So to enter a university, you have to pass this English exam well. And if I'm not mistaken, and I think I'm not mistaken, but it's okay. So it's like it's B2 level.
Never mistake.
No, I can do, but it's like 200 from 200 marks on this test is the B2 level, or even B2 plus.
For context, B2 is an independent speaker, so it's already a high fluent conversational level of English.
Youth in Ukrainian knows English. I think, like especially active youth, they know everybody.
Yeah. And now it's really important to know English because we need to communicate with that the countries. We need to build these connections, and if that's why young people are trying to be more educated about the other languages. It's not only English that we learn, like German. We learn Polish. We learn French. Like I was studying French in school. We have a French lessons, like a second language after English.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna read a few comments. There are some. In the meanwhile, there are some cars and trucks passing, and yeah. Okay, now some people are screaming in the street. So I hope you still hear us. Give us some feedback. Lots of Slava Ukrainis I'm reading here. By the way, since it has been posted in the comments and Maidan was mentioned, I suggest all of you to watch the special we dedicated to the 10 years of Euromaidan that we realized with Ludovico Zanetti a few months ago, and I really recommend it if you want to delve into the history of recent Ukraine. And how many years?
We are talking about
yes, exactly. And so a few questions and a few comments and a few questions. So I will read them and then we go on with the conversation. Wait, sorry guys for there is still the noise of the trucks.
Actually, you pay attention that the people here, they know English. Like there are a few adults who spoke English. I was shocked. It's really this village never stops.
Zlata is saying now that we are in a not particularly big village, and even here there are people that adults like 40-50-year-olds that speak an understandable English and are actively try to communicate in English, which is which even for her was some not a shock, but was a nice surprise. A pleasant surprise.
And also, there are also Ukrainian refugees in Europe and other countries. They also know English really
you have
well.
to overcome the truck noise. Shout.
Like Ukrainians.
It's Italy, so if you shout, no one will get.
Ukrainians who are living in Europe as refugees, they also learn English and they speak English really well. I have noticed in Sweden and Finland because there I have met a lot of Ukrainians. So eventually, when they will come back, return to Ukraine, it will be really good for Ukraine and for Ukraine's future, because I think it's really important for Ukrainians to know English for cultural exchange, and also especially when Europe is on its way to Euro integration.
Okay, I will ask a little sound check from the public if you still hear us. By the way, I read this comment because you like it. Best Italian who speaks English is the one who uses Roman accent during the live streaming, which is me. Okay. So now, moving forward, some comments. There are also there's a lot of supportive comments. Fantastic people. I love you. Hello, Luca. So I will skip the very supportive comments, but there are a lot of them. So
I will read them.
I don't skip them because I'm mean, but just for the sake of the streaming. There was this comment is interesting. As far as I listen, what you're describing isn't nationalism, but a protection of your national identity. And I think that was the whole point of what you were saying. Nationalism means the supremacy of a nation towards other nations. I think before jumping on this, I will read a few. Otherwise, we are skipping too much questions. This is an interesting point we could delve into. If you join Europe, your nation, of course, people here they share their opinions. If you will join Europe, your nationalism and pride of culture tradition will be seen as fascism, says Empirico in the comments. Look what happens in the most European countries flooded with immigrants like France, UK, Italy. If people stand for their culture and identity, media says it's fascism. You sure you want to join Europe? This is a bit confrontational, but I wanted to share with you. Some people that, let's say, follow our live streams not necessarily share our Europeanist views. So let's keep that on the table, but I also wanted to read another question. Yes, guys, we are not in Kiev, we are in Sumy region. And this is also very interesting, so you can choose what to answer. How do you imagine, this is big, your life in Ukraine in 10 years?
So, how do you imagine?
How do you imagine your Georgian life in Ukraine?
Working as a politician in Kiev and probably speaking in Ukrainian. So I don't know. Maybe.
Girls and
Okay, let's say
I would like to take maybe the first question about what is nationalism.
they're discussing about who takes the question. Just a second.
Define things.
In the meantime, I remind you all to put like and support our activity. And let me see if there are other comments in the meantime. I thank you all that are commenting. Erika Colombo says, I have some Ukrainian colleagues, they speak English perfectly. Of course. Okay, if I miss some question I didn't read, just rewrite it, please, because we are in some complicated conditions. Okay, let's go on. So, Zlata, you wanted to take up one of the questions?
I want to, the first question about the definition of nationalism. Yes, I want Solomia to add something on the topic.
Yeah,
okay,
so basically, I'm not just saying because, actually, I say because that's like what political science says. And the definition that was listed, it was this definition of fascism, and when it's about having the nation over the other nation, nationalism is about having independent state. And if you have any doubt, like maybe there are between of like ideology of nationalism in Ukraine, our president is Jew, and we have it's not about having or destroying another nation, it's about keeping ours. So yeah, that's mostly what it's about. And it's sad that due to events that happened to World War II, nationalism has completely different meaning in modern world, and it's okay, it's important to talk through it, to enable a political education, enable a political education about this. So yeah, it makes complete sense. About European countries, probably what was happened mentioned is the how people treat immigrants and everything else. So this is more about far right movements, I guess, that are against immigrants, and that what happens in the European Union. Since 2014, Ukrainians have been protesting, dying, fighting for getting not only independence and keeping independence, but also into pro-European culture, pro-European standards, and getting to European Union. So we have different laws passed in order to do this, and nationalism can exist with European Union because European Union is a union of independent countries. We want to be independent. We want to join the European Union. Perfect formula. So that's my opinion.
Can I add?
And I will just add something from a comment because I think it's relevant, and then of course I will leave you the floor, Zlata. Tizio Caio says that Pudler doesn't want Ukraine in Pudler, for who is listening, of course it's Vladimir Putin, doesn't want Ukraine in the European Union. He's scared. In the EU, Article 42.7 of the Lisbon Treaty says that if an EU country is the victim of an armed aggression on its territory, other EU countries have the obligation to help and assist it with all the means in their power. And go on, Zlata.
I wanted to add about nationalism. Like there was a comment where if I'm not mistaken, a woman or somebody told that the definition of nationalism is putting one nation towards others. But actually, nationalism is not about putting one nation towards others. It's about putting nation as the biggest value in our country. And I think it's relevant in Ukraine because what can be a bigger value for Ukrainians than a nation? A nation, not like ethnical group, like Ukrainians, white people, and so on, but Ukrainians like civils who have the right to vote and so on. So it's not about putting our ethnic groups above others.
Okay.
Thank you.
By the way, there are also some Ukrainians saying hello from the comment. Oksana Zhigulivska, I believe.
Привіт.
Is there somebody
Привіт,
from
Oksana.
Kharkiv?
Shout out for Kharkiv. And there's various questions. I will just read this comment about the nationalism thing, and then I will move on to another topic. But thank you for delving into it. It was very interesting. In Italian, one would says Stefano, that yours is patriottism and not nationalism. The former has no negative nuance in Italian, patriotism, and it's not viewed as a form of fascism, but nor is seen as in contrast with Europe. And let's go on. There was this beautiful question about how do you terrible, because it's how do you imagine your life in Ukraine in 10 years? So if you want to take over these questions, and I would also join this, however, with another questions that I expected. That was about let me try. Mr. Max 91 says, I can even imagine how I was like living under bombs. All European people will always be grateful to Ukrainian people for their sacrifice and suffering. You are incredible, Slava Ukraini.
Heroes Slava.
Okay, so how do you see your life in Ukraine? But I would also, if I may, I would widen the question at this point.
Okay.
And I would say, because of course, public usually sees stories of refugees, story of people, but in many cases it's story of people that had to flee Ukraine. Also, Slada, you had the experience of having to flee Ukraine, and now you're back. So you could answer to the question, yes, how I see my life in Ukraine in 10 years, but also what's your life in Ukraine now, what you're experiencing right now, and maybe we should also answer to the question that has been asked. Okay, but isn't Sumy dangerous? What are you doing here? Etc., etc. Because Sumy, of course, is a very big region, and the places where we are that we are not going to mention is not as close to the border as the Sumy city, for example. So we are more or less 100 kilometers. I'm generalizing because because if you in line of air, more or less, it's a bit more of that than that to the border. You can check if you want, because I might be wrong, but we are rather east.
150 kilometers.
Rather west, sorry. Yeah?
We are on the 150 kilometers from the front line, to be accurate.
Okay, thank you.
Russia, it's actually to Russia, it's 80 kilometers.
It's 80. Okay, so so it was 100.
Maybe
was
there's no front line. No, where we are now.
Where we are now. So it was
so
100 was more or less, and so we are. You said 80. So
80, yeah.
In if you just draw a straight line to the border, we are 80 kilometers from the border, but we are not in a urban area. So if you want, you can also say, aren't you afraid of being literally here? But I would also like to, relativize this question by talking about also where you live and the experience that you have in your daily life.
So how are Sumy in danger, our life now and our life in 12?
Yeah, lots of questions, but very big questions. So you have the floor and you can delve into that.
Who wants to start?
Ivanka, давай.
Okay.
Давай, Ivanka.
Okay. Let's be honest. Everywhere in Ukraine is not safe. Everywhere. Like maybe in some places you can be more in danger than in another, but we don't save anywhere. I don't save in Dnipro at my own house. She don't save in Lviv in her own house. You don't save in Kharkiv. I mean, in Kharkiv, she don't save at all. And here in our place of staying, in some way, we are safe because we have like a place where we can hide.
Shelter, she means.
Yes, shelter. But in another way, we're not, because we are in war. This country is in war, so we are not safe anywhere. And we figure out how to live with fear, because it's always there. Like we can't escape it. We can only accept it. And now the most important thing for us is to just live and live this life fully, not survive, but live. Those who can, of course, because a lot of people can't live fully at all.
Okay.
What was the question?
That was a big question. I would like to jump in with this. This is a question that also has been posed, but how does it work, like in the daily life? For example, not on things that now you unfortunately kind of take for granted as an integrated part of your daily life, like is the app with the air alert.
No.
But then, for example, you don't automatically, for every air alert, for example, here, just go to the shelter. I understand that this is not a trivial question for who listen to us. How does it work? So you have an app that says air alert, but then you have also Telegram channel where you check. I will tell the story because I think it's interesting. We saw drones flying over the place where we were. And for example, one thing that I expected, because I had already had exchanges with people living here. But it's something that might be unexpected, something like, okay, hey, there are drones. Okay, where are they going? They're going to other place that I won't mention. Okay, let's go on. And it's kind of a terrible form of normality that from foreign countries, it's even kind of difficult to imagine. So I would like you to tell a bit about this. How also it works practically.
Okay.
If you want.
How it works to like check is the dangerous enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the threshold of dangerous enough? And how also, if you want, how has it evolved over time?
I can speak only for myself.
What? Interesting question.
Oh, okay. I can speak only for myself, because, I live in Dnipro, the city that is very close to a front line, and we have a very dangerous position. And but still in our city there is not so many shelters. Near my house there is no shelters like in kilometers, and for me it's just sometimes I go out of my room and go to the a bathroom. This mean that for me our alarms is like something already common, something that I used to even sometimes ignore because it can strike anytime, and sometimes I'm really busy.
Bombing is like, okay, but I have work to do.
Yeah. I mean, I have stuff to do. And here now, alarms are like every hour. Like I don't know.
Even here
Maybe now is alarm. We just lucky that this place is quiet enough for us not to run in shelters every time.
We really like him.
Every time that we hear our alarm. Yes. So how works to see if danger is dangerous? 50-50.
Yeah.
It works 50-50 because
You never
sometimes
know.
no.
Yeah, no, I mean like you never
You
know.
never know. That's
Yeah,
like
you
what
never
we're
know
saying.
because sometimes you see
Yeah.
the danger is like red, and you like maybe I need to go like to the bathroom, but nothing happens. And sometimes a danger is like orange, and you're like, okay, I will stay in my room, and something happens. And we never know when, where, and how missile or shahed or anything else will.
Shaheeds are the drones, the Iranian
Yeah.
drones.
Yeah.
Just for
Sorry.
context. No, it's okay. It's not many of the people that listen to us know, but
Yeah.
some others might not be familiar with the name.
How it will be, where it strike, and when and whom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add about understanding what is the level of dangerous. Like I'm from Kharkiv, but now I live in Lviv, and I can tell about this region a lot because Lviv is further than other cities, and it is more safe than other cities. And I personally live in a great dormitory where we had good shelters with everything we need, and we check in news if there is a mich. Like for example, do you understand what is a mich?
Yes. Yeah, there's Litka. You mean Mich, like MIG?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So, and there are no rockets. We don't go anywhere. But if we see that there are drones flying to our region and there are rockets flying to our region, we have time. We have like 10 minutes if it's rockets. If we have more or less, if it's other types of weapon, to come down and to like continue sleeping or something like that. And I can personally even sometimes sleep over some explosions because I'm just asleep. But for example, in Kharkiv, there is no such option because firstly you hear explosion, and after that air alarm starts to work, and it's like a lucky game. Who will be next, when it will happen, and personally the only thing I can do is praying because sometimes you're just not ready to that. You can't be ready for that. If I'm going to Kharkiv, I have some plans to do there, and the people who live in Kharkiv, they are just they live with the fact that they can die any minute, and they can do almost nothing to that because even bathroom won't give you enough safety. Your shelter in your house is not safe enough because they are not actually bomb shelters. They are just podval. Basements. They are just basements, so they are not shelters. But for example, in Kyiv, you can also understand is like. Okay, Solomia will tell more about Kyiv because she is living there, but it depends really on region, and I'm lucky because I can live in Lviv, and so I have responsibility for my life there, and I can choose what to do. But for example, in Kharkiv, it's just not my zone of control. Will I live there next few days or no?
Okay. Just to give some geographic context for who those of you who are less familiar with the geography of Ukraine, they mentioned a few cities, not Lviv and Kharkiv, which are and Kiev. So basically, the one of the easternmost cities, and actually the second biggest city in Ukraine, very close to the border, and was recently it's constantly bombed, and was also recently the failed objective of an offensive by the Russian Federation. And Kiev is in central Ukraine, central north Ukraine, and Lviv is in western Ukraine and is basically bordering Poland. Is usually the first city that you can access by passing through Warsaw and Krakow through the Poland-Ukrainian border. So just to give you, so the farthest possible is Lviv, let's say from the border, and the closest possible are Kharkiv and Sumy, if you speak about big cities, let's say. And just to give you some context, for example, the day we arrived, and again, we didn't arrive in Sumy city, but the day we arrived here, Sumy city was attacked, and there were 6 civilians wounded because I think they hit either a market or a supermarket or something like that. Now, Solomia, you have the floor.
Yeah, I will add just a couple of words because I moved from Lviv from the west into Kyiv, into central Ukraine, and our brain and our just like neurotic system has a unique ability to adapt to dangers. And when at the beginning of the war, every alarm in Lviv was like assigned to go in the shelter, now even living in Kyiv, in more dangerous city as than Lviv in case of talking about war, it's more adapting about like if I hear an air alarm, I also see what is there's danger for particularly my region or my particular district, because when air alarm, you can't live all your life in shelter. People life is still going. Our university has offline studies, and we study, if there is alarm, we study in the shelter or study somewhere in other safe places or in metro, and people just learn to adapt, even if it's a horrible thing to get used to and say I'm used to air alarms, I used to bombings, but that's how it happens, and that's how our mind adapts in order not to go crazy with all this stress. So yeah, that's how we live. That's our reality.
Thank you very much. Well, I think this was a very, very rather complete questions. Of course, if you have other follow-up questions of this, let us know. I will catch up with a few of the comments if you give me a second. Okay, this is I want to attach to this question a further question, because you were saying now, how do you see your life in Ukraine in 10 years?
We forgot about
And we forgot about the elephant in the room. Also, but I will attach a few questions to that, because okay, the 10 years, but also this is also what would you want to do the most when war is over? Okay, and meanwhile, lots of comments of support that I should read, but forgive me. No, but I will read a few of them. Let's give sense to this evening. Ukraine is always in my thoughts and in my heart. Slava Ucraini, Slava Ucraini, Slava Ucraini. Very good. A good evening. So this one is more neutral. And okay, now you guys give this one is beautiful. You guys give me hope for Europe, hope for humanity. And so the question I wanted to attach to the 10 years question is okay, what you would like to do the most, but there was also another one that I don't find it anymore. So okay, let's take it to let's leave it to this. So the 10-year question and the what you would like to do the most when the war is over. Yes. Okay. No, it's fine. It's okay. Okay.
Okay, so we have the 10 years plus what we will do.
Yeah, I will reformulate it. So basically, what would you like to do the most when the war is over, and how do you see your life in Ukraine in 10 years? And so I'm super sorry. I found the question that I'm sorry, guys, because I have to basically lean on the computer and try to read the comments, and it's not easy. They were asking something. I lost it again. Okay. Yes. Okay. The third question is this. One day this war will be over. Will you consider to continue living in US? In Ukraine, and build a family even if Ukraine won't join EU as a part of peace conditions? I mean, will you trade to stay isolated to the end of the war? I'm literally reading the question, so it's kind of phrased weirdly, but let's say that this is part of the question and see if you can integrate it into your answers.
Would you mind if I start? Okay, so actually in one time after the full-scale invasion started, I stopped dreaming about what will happen when the war is over, because I don't see the final of it. I can't even imagine it now. I'm so used to it that I don't think what is going to be next. I don't want to live in dreams, and I want to live in reality. So like for sure I want to say that I want to return home and build my family at my home with peaceful sky, with people hanging out at night, and lights are when the lights are on at night and we don't have to mask. But actually I'm getting ready for the fact that I may be forced to live in the war even in 10 years. I hope that the war will end and that we will win it, because like the war is over, but who is the winner is also a question. And is Crimea and Donbass back? They territory back to Ukraine, or is something else? But actually, I want to live in Ukraine in 10 years, no matter will be war there or won't there be war, and I want to live in my native city and build family there, even if there is a war. Thank you.
Want to add something?
I can continue. So, if it's hard to plan for like next 10 years,
Yes.
but if to talking about hypothetical dreams, I see myself in independent Ukraine. In European Union or not, we will see. It's not something that is so easily to predict, but it's important to see myself here just because of I feel whenever I lived in a different country, it's different because you feel like a guest. But being home in Ukraine, and especially during those events, it feels like you are important, you are needed, you can do something or make a difference, and actually contribute something. It's the best time and the most important time to make a difference and to actually like form and try to do something with history. In 10 years, I see myself working probably somewhere in Lviv or Kyiv as a local representative of international organization in order to inform them about what is happening here while being on a local level and being living in a reality. Also, I see myself developing my own organization and doing something in order to make a difference here, or probably motivate other people to also change our country, because it could be hard, it could take a lot of time and years, but at the end it's always the effort that's worth it. And I believe that it's better for me to do it than and feel that rather than regret that I haven't done. So we'll see. I hope that our Ukraine will that we will stay, not that only about peace, but about returning to our borders and just having people home, having people safe, and their memory of those who we lost honored.
I wanted, since you just mentioned about the people that you lost and that Europe has lost, because they are fighting also for, they are literally defending a border of geographical Europe at least, and that's also the European Union. Consider that one of the first moments of the day after the breakfast is a moment of reflection and of memory for the people that each of you has lost, either directly or indirectly. Consider that some of the people that are here actually a lot of the people that are here have either parents, brothers, husbands, because many of these young girls also have husbands that are at the front, have been at the front, or have lost someone. So the moment there is this morning moment before and after laughs and joy and everything that is dedicated to remembering, and everyone can share what happened in the past, what's happening in their daily lives, because a bad news could arrive literally at any moment. And so this playfulness, this joyfulness, also this lightness is integrated into this habit of to red alerts, etc., and also to the memory of the not only the memory, also thinking about people on the front, etc. Sorry if I didn't formulate it well. I'm also tired. These are long days, but now I wanted to point it out. And at this point, since we have also our Georgian guest, and how do you see, your future as a Georgian from here to 10 years? Because I think it's also an interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm a really hopeful person, and Georgia and Ukraine are both maybe not Georgia lately because of our government, but Ukraine is really fighting for joining the European Union. They are adopting new laws that match with the European values and European standards. So Ukrainians are doing really good job and really hard job, and they really want to join the European Union. So I see, in 10 years, I really hope and I see Georgia and Ukraine in the EU, because that's what we've been fighting for so many years. And also I see Ukraine without, I don't know how to say, like, without any war, without any conflicts, just a peaceful, democratic, prosperous European country.
It's really hopeful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really believe in a great future for Ukraine.
Okay, guys, I have this question that keeps popping up that I really didn't want, honestly, to bring up, but no, because, focus. I would like the focus to be on Ukraine here, but I want to allow you to share or not share your thoughts on this. One of the questions is, wait, do you think that young Russians, the one of your same age, could be a hope? Meaning, do they just want to be free according to you? And there was another one, which is why I actually brought it up, that was similar. That was, do you see some hope for Russia, for Russian youth? I am going through memory because I don't remember. So they brought in the... So if you want to share your thought, but we can also skip the question and go on.
I can
because...
briefly talk about this because I've had some Russian colleagues that work in Riga. When I took a gap year, I was working with finance and I was working with transactions, and there I met a lot of Russian colleagues from Russia, and there were also young people, a little bit older. And I always tried to discuss with them about the war in Ukraine, and I always wanted to hear their opinions about it. And my impression was that even if those Russians who say that they support Ukraine, they don't do so much. Maybe they are scared because of the government. I don't know. But I have noticed that I have a lot of friends on my Instagram who come from Russia, different generations, but I don't see that they even post about Ukraine. They don't share anything about Ukraine on their Instagram or Facebook. So I just, I don't know. For me, Russians are being really passive right now, but it's hard to believe in young generation because they're growing in authoritarian regime where there's corruption, authoritarianism, and they will be more prone to them being authoritarian and than themselves, if you know what I mean. But I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
It's not my personal experience, but experience of a friend of mine. She was on an international program, and there were Russians like our age. And what they do was like they are usually Russians abroad. What I'm told is they are trying to be silent, not speak about Ukraine a lot because they know that they are
really
yes. But so usually like young Russians, they don't respect Ukrainians abroad. If we need to talk, it's something usually rude, unpleasant, and so on. So personally, I don't believe in Russian youth.
I also want to add about this because I remember I started to talk about the war in Georgia, or like about the fact that Georgia is occupied by Russia, and it has 20% of territories occupied by Russia currently. When I started talking about this with my Russian colleague, she immediately told me that let's not discuss politics. I don't want to talk about it, but they just need to understand that these kind of things for us, for Ukrainians, for Georgians, it's not about politics. This is our history.
Yeah, I would also add something. That question was about, does Russia has a chance for hope? Depends on what they hope for. Because we don't live there, luckily, and people there, according to their voting data or according to their social media publication, hope for different things than we hope. And I don't see that there so far there is, or I don't see any possible development of something close to democracy there. But
If I might add, I don't see any signs of collective responsibility among Russians, and it's really important to highlight this because like some European countries have colonized other countries, for example, Portugal, Spain, etc., and in the same way, Russia colonized our countries, Eastern European countries. They invaded us and they made us by force join the USSR, Soviet Union. But a lot of Russians still, I would say 70%, they don't feel ashamed about this. Instead, they are really proud about the Soviet Union, and they don't see it as a occupation. They're just really proud of the Soviet Union. I was actually in Egypt last month, and there were a lot of Russians, of course, because for them it's cheap and the flights to there are quite affordable. And I saw one woman with a t-shirt where it said, I'm born in the USSR. And as someone coming from Georgia, I got offended, and especially during the war in Ukraine. I started talking to her, and it turns out she was Russian. So collective responsibility, it's a good thing to think about.
Yes, I also have never seen any signs of Russian activity among youth people like on TikTok and nowhere. I have never seen them, like only when they're walking somewhere in Europe, I see that they exist, but I don't hear them. And that's not because I don't listen, that's because it's hard to find them. I try to, it's really hard to find them.
Sorry, because in European countries, for example, in the EU, there are a lot of Russians living there, a lot of Russian immigrants. And I have never heard about some kind of demonstration where Russians came out supporting Ukraine or against their own government.
May I interject on this just for, I really prefer not to share my personal opinion on this because I would like to actually the focus on you. But just since you said I've never seen this kind of events, for example, I can speak for Italy, but I can speak also for Germany and various other countries, especially the organization related to Navalny, especially, and in general the FBK. They actually organize a lot of rallies, and usually at these rallies you find Ukrainian flags, and having been there, I can tell you there are. Now, of course, the point is, one could still argue that even the people that do that with good intentions have biases or really don't understand some situations, and but at least I can tell you that there is this activity. Now, how much this activity is representative of the more general Russian
Not
youth?
so much.
That's
of course not.
It might be not so much. I really don't feel like it's useful to share my views on this. I can tell that, even people on the channel, you can find video made with us, interviews to Russian activists, etc. But the question of determining whether Russian youth can be saved or can save themselves or not, is an interesting question. But honestly, I don't understand why we have to ask Ukrainians about that.
We don't live in Russia.
About Russian youth.
But
you were very kind to answer, but just to say
just one point, it's also really hard to have hope when I see the news from Russia that now Russian government is putting so much propaganda starting from kindergarten to universities, and they start their propaganda machines since the age of maybe 5, when the children are 5 years old. There's a lot of propaganda in kindergartens, and they're growing up in propaganda. And because of this, it's hard to believe that then this generation will change so much. But I really hope they will do.
Well, if I can add something on this, it's not history doesn't necessarily repeat itself. But for example, partisan generation of Italians that actually, let's say, was born in a particular context that was not the change of front of Italy during 1943, was made by people that had grown up during the fascist regime, so with fascist propaganda, etc. But it's really hard to say. And I think that what matters is that your impression is that Russian youth is not moving. Then, of course, everyone can make their ideas on this, but having spoken with also a lot of other Ukrainians, I had similar feedbacks. And since you brought it up, guys, in the chat, I think that it was important. And I thank you actually for answering this question and delving so much into this question. But my honest thought is that I think that maybe Europeans should be interested in the question of the Russian youth and of the Russian opposition,
Communicate more.
but I don't think it's so
Then
useful to keep asking Ukrainians about this, because I think that the
Yeah.
focus should be on knowing what Ukrainian thinks about Ukraine and their country. But maybe you don't agree, and tell
Yes,
me.
because I think our opinion is really valuable there, because we are here three responsible for Ukraine now, and we are going to take those responsibility and communicate with other countries. Where are people who are responsible for Russia
Mhm.
in our age? Like, I want to see them, I want to speak to them, and I can't do this. It's and their character, the fact that they can't take this responsibility ruins my life. So
Mhm.
it's kind of my problem also.
Of
And I
course.
don't want to, like, there is propaganda and so on, but it's not a виправдання. Як буде виправдання?
Excuse.
It's
Ah,
not an
excuse.
excuse. Yes, propaganda
Of
is
course
bad.
not.
It has its own like influence, and it influences really, really much. But there are Russians abroad. There is VPN. There are a lot of tools to understand what is going on,
Mhm.
and Russians are responsible for what their country is doing. So, like,
Yeah.
propaganda, not propaganda, but they are responsible, especially youth.
Yeah, I agree completely. But about propaganda, I actually meant that because of the propaganda, I don't have so much hope for the young generation. That was my point. That they will change.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, we can, if you want, change topic. Also, tell me if you're tired. We can
Why
stop it here. But if what?
it's okay, it's okay.
It's okay. And okay, so unless you want to add something, or there are further comments on this, but at least we have one guy from the chat, Stefano, says a comment on you from my wife's father who is Russian. Молодец. So
What?
a comment from my wife's father. It's a guy commenting, and my wife's father is Russian, and he says to you, молодец. So, which is like good boy. But the problem is more not the single person, but generational and social. So anyway, going forward, okay, Fabrizio Riva says, as a good Italian, I have to ask you if you have enough and good food to eat.
Yes, we
Yes.
eat. We eat like we have vareniki, borscht.
Yeah, national food.
Food is amazing, and you should at least try borscht once in your life. And okay, this one is more political. Let's see. There was an interesting one that was about how you see not young Russian but the West. And let me see if I found it. See if I find it. Okay, if I don't find it, I will just basically re-elaborate it. What do you think that people from the West, let's say from Western Europe and let's say America, so the conventional Western democracy, don't really understand about your situation, don't really understand about Ukraine? And there was another related questions, and again, sorry guys for the delay in finding the question, but it's not easy. Rumak asks, in a perspective in which you will be in EU and NATO, that's very optimistic, let's hope so, there are aspects of these two realities, so EU and NATO, and in general of the Western culture and society, that would you like to change or criticize, or that you simply don't understand
Change or criticize the
about,
The aspect of Western
NATO,
culture, talking about you, and I feel like this question, it's not easy to answer, but also like we can be really subjective, because we are not diplomats or politicians who don't know what they think. But I will answer quickly on this. What I think, maybe you guys can add something on that. If changing or criticizing something in Western culture, becoming part of you and NATO, I feel like I would focus more about like education, in case of what you already talked through, like nationalism, about talking and speaking up about our history. So it's not changing, it's more adding, because for long years Western world had Soviet Union and in particular Russia as a source of information about our history, and that's why there have been a lot of rumors and thoughts about Nazis in Ukraine and everything like this, and changing the meanings of different words and ideologies. So I would like that we could speak up more about our history, about I'm almost done.
It was so random.
No, it's okay. You can add up. I will just finish. Yeah, and yeah, probably to speak up more about our history, to be more confident in the actions, because Europe and I learned, like, I feel we all guys learned what happened in 1939, when even earlier than that, when the occupation of Czechoslovakia and then Poland started, and the absence of action turned out into a world war. So maybe sometimes it's not about escalation, it's about actions, and I hope that will be something that future international organizations or unions will keep an eye on.
Okay, yeah, this is interesting. It's related. Fulvio asks, ask them what is their perception. Actually, we talked about this during these days. What's their perception of the Italian position on the war?
Mhm.
Who wants? I'm not gonna say anything on this. I just want to know what's
Like-
your external
Like
perception.
how we see.
How do you perceive Italy and its
Italian
position
as-
towards Ukraine?
Like government or people?
Yeah.
Well, you can mix both of them.
Okay.
If you think that you can, I think you can separate it. But what's your perception?
I don't feel like we're also enough educated about
Yes,
that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have my family, like my mother and grandparents, grandpa living in Italy, but they're not actively participating in political life of Italians, and it's hard to we see that Italian government often speaks about Ukraine, and people are speaking about Ukraine, but I don't feel enough competent to talk about this, because that's what we want to hear from you guys, basically, because we don't live there, and it could be also be differentiated among people, among ages, and among regions. Some could people. This could be a range for people who more support Ukraine because of these reasons, those are not, and I don't think I'm not gonna answer because I'm not enough competent to do it.
Okay.
I can just speak about my own experience because I've traveled to many European countries, and when I was in Italy, for example, I didn't.
Voice.
Sorry, I'm speaking so quiet. I'm used to speaking so quiet.
All these people here are so quiet. They are so different from us Italians.
But when I laugh, I'm not so quiet.
Yes.
No.
That's
No.
true.
They are very joyful and playful, but they are quiet.
Yeah. I can only talk about my own experience. I've traveled to many European countries, and when I was in Italy, I didn't see so many Ukrainian flags. Just observation, comparing
That's
to
true.
countries
That's 100% true.
comparing to countries like Baltics, but there is understandable why there is some strong
Some
support
context
for
on this,
Ukraine.
like Baltics is. If you've never been to the Baltics, I've been very recently and like 3 weeks ago. And Vilnius, in Vilnius, there are more Ukrainian flags than in Kyiv.
Yeah.
And no, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not even usually Italians exaggerate, but I swear to God that I've been to the what?
That's true. But
Okay, Ukraine, you cannot swear. I swear to this table that that is very important because it's a smoking area of the camp, and I swear that I've seen more Ukraine because if you walk around the center of Vilnius, you basically first you see much more Ukrainian flags than Lithuanian flags,
It's great.
and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And I've also talked to some Italians, and I don't know, but it feels like many Italians like the Russian culture and they like Russia so much, and they're so prone to liking Russia. And I also, for example, had I was talking to one guy, Italian. He studied Russian language at university, and he was supporting. He's supporting, and he still supports Putin, and is really anti-Ukraine.
Yeah.
So I really want to educate myself about this, and I'm also really curious why this is so. And yeah, if you can explain for us why it is like
Okay.
that, or
Well, I can sum it up very quickly.
educate ourselves about that.
But
Yeah.
in my impression, and then of people from the government, most of you are Italian, so you can expand on that. We have historically somewhat a good relationship with Russia, given that we had one of maybe the strongest communist party in Europe. Of course, it was a very special kind of communist party. This would be a chapter a bit too wide to open, but in general, Russians and as you know, ex-USSR country have a special relationship. Love Italy, love Italian culture, and usually we love them back. But since USSR was mostly perceived as Russia, and even things from other countries from ex-USSR that were perceived as Russian, imagine all the problem with the labeling as Ukrainian artists. You always find a Russian artist. Malevich is a Russian artist, for example, in many not because he is, but it's found if you open some Italian or even some encyclopedias in English, you can find sometimes it's a Russian artist and stuff like that. So, given this, there is a lot of overlap between what we perceive as USSR and what we perceive as Russian. So this is also the reason why in Italian the toponyms of Ukraine are Russian. We say Kiev, we don't say Kyiv, and stuff like this. So we always have this special relation. And then I think that Putin coming, and also there is the anti-imperialism chapter. Italy, there is a part of lots of Italians that perceive the role of America as this neighbor that basically treats Italy as a colony. I don't have the time to delve too much into that, but there is this very anti-imperialist feeling that is towards America and not towards Russia. And so in this context, both on the left and on the right, Russia can be seen as basically the balancing power that fights against imperialism. This is why in Italy, the proxy war narrative, so Ukraine is not a country of people, it's just a place that is used as just a war place for the proxy war within America and Russia. So that's a bit the idea. I try to sum it up, and I'm still surely missing a few elements, but that's, I think, some of the most relevant bias that put us in a very bad relationship with America from this point of view, even though we are allies of America, and makes us see Russia in a positive lens, and also consider that there is this passion for the strong man, and Putin, of course, filled this role beautifully. So, for example, a few years ago, there were important people from important parties, especially in the right wing, La Lega Nord, for Italians listening, that were speaking about Putin like if he was the only serious leader in Europe because he was strong and all the Europeans are weak. So, there is a lot of stuff. Every country is very complex, but that's more or less why Italy is particularly prone to Russian propaganda, because it's more easy to see Russia as a balancing power against imperialism. So that's a bit the idea. And I would, at this point, make you the question: how do you see America?
Just one more moment. We would like to probably, have some wrapping questions, and just wrapping up because we're just a bit tired.
We can close with this if you want.
No, I feel like it would be something more about Ukraine,
Okay.
Maybe if there is some a question that would be a great as, or two questions that could be great as final questions, and we could.
Let's find a great question then. Guys, we count on you for a great question. Otherwise, I will have to come up with one.
As something as a final, that will leave some food for thought.
And unfortunately, I have to leave you guys. It was nice to discuss.
Thank you,
talk with
Ragli.
you. I have to wake up really early, and I'm really sorry for it. I hope it's okay. Yeah.
You going tomorrow?
Okay, I have found one. So I think thank you, Ragli.
Good night.
Dobranoc.
Dobranoc.
Гарних снів.
Dobranoc is our buonanotte. And okay, Jacopo Statti asked, this is big. So let's see if we can wrap it up. Do you think people who escape from the war in 2022 will return in Ukraine? I think you hope so, isn't it? Do you have friends in Europe, USA, Canada, not necessarily that escaped in the last year? And this relates more to the question of Ukrainians abroad, which is a very huge topic. We won't be able to cover it. But if you want to share your thoughts on this, and then I think we can wrap it up. Of course, guys, we are having very long days, so we need to go to sleep at a certain point. I thank you again for your presence and your kindness in answering all these questions. And so I leave you the floor, and then you can also then close with some final final reflection or whatever you want on this live streaming.
Talking about people who flee Ukraine in 2022, we never know when the war ends, and if it will end. The later it ends, the less the chance that people will return, because a lot of them do not have a place to return. Some of them don't have the ability, or they already start adapting in new environment. They have their kids going to school in new countries, and I have some friends I have a friend from Mariupol who has her house destroyed, and she lives in Germany. She has no place to be here and no place to stay. So some people can return because they often talk about this, and some people do return after a year or two spending abroad because of missing home or because of some challenges abroad. And I hope that they will, because after the war ends, basically it won't be just celebration of the victory. It will be a beginning of a really, really difficult time of rebuilding, restoring, rehabilitation, and everything like this. And most of Ukrainian citizens now probably have post-traumatic syndrome and don't even know about this. So we will have to deal with a lot of stuff after it. And if people won't return, I can't blame them, because I have home here. I am lucky to have a place to return. Not everybody has this chance, so we will see. I hope they will, and I hope. For me, it's important to enable or to talk to work on having and making this country the most accessible it could be for people to return, and for our government and for Ukraine, it's important to create some opportunities and something that will motivate people to come back, and I hope they will.
Thank you very much. And at this point, there's also a lot of other questions, but we really need to close. So thank you in the meantime for the comment. Remember to put like, even to those who are going to see this recording, this live streaming in the recorded version. We will try to add subtitles, but remember to comment and put likes for two reasons. First, because likes and comments help us with the algorithm. And second of all, because if you put comments, I will be able to make further questions to our friend, and we cannot exclude that in the future we might repeat this experience in a more comfortable maybe context and in an easier. So if you want to know more about young Ukrainians, and namely about young Ukrainian activists in Ukraine, which I think is a very important topic to delve into, please write in the comments, make questions, tell that you like this episode and that you want more. Meanwhile, I really thank you, girls. I leave you the floor if you want to say something to close, and then we will. I want to ask you to sing Cervona Galina because you're super tired, but we have it we have ending song that we use for our.
Okay, but I just want to say thank you, Andrea, for what you're doing and for the streaming, and thank you everybody who was with us today and who will watch it later. We really need your support and we appreciate it, and we are glad to answer your questions. So maybe we will have some future things together or not, we will see. But thank you, Andrea. Really, it is really precious for us.
Thanks
so
to you,
still Червона Калина.
And
if you want to think that.
Yeah. And also, thank you for taking an interest and for doing such an important job when it's coming to, asking questions. Even spreading this information is important because it's something we're not in Italy now. We can't, but we are here and we talk to you guys. And I hope that this was something helpful, and I hope that we will be able to talk through, and Ukraine will be able to be not only represented in general, but also informationally represented in the world. So glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini.
Heroiam Slava. And I think we can close up. Thank you again, guys. Buonanotte a tutti. E vi lascio con la sigla, se la trovo.
Червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо. Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо. Ой, у лузі червона калина похилилася, чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася, а ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну, гей, гей, розвеселимо.
Русский военный корабль, иди нахуй.